All right, guys, welcome in. Welcome in. Appreciate you tuning in. We're going to get right into this. What is going on with the Democrat? We know the Democratic Party has been in shambles since they've lied to us for the last 2 years, saying that Joe Biden was in great shape. He was fit for office. And we know that was a lie because as soon as Donald Trump wins, all of a sudden he has stage 4 cancer, which, again, I don't wish that on anybody. But that just goes to show you the length of what the Democratic Party is right now. Liars. And another thing that you see going on right now is that they will not admit the problems in their own city. They hate Donald Trump so much that they will not accept any help from him, especially when we see crime. Crime is out of control, especially in these Democratic cities. Baltimore, D.C., Chicago, Memphis, all run by Democrats. And the problem is that when you have a Republican president like Donald Trump, who, I will say this, I voted for this man a couple times. I think that this guy is going to be one of the best presidents we've ever seen because he's willing to do the things that is tough to do. Put in a National Guard out there, despite all the criticism that he's getting, even probably people on his own administration. He's willing to do whatever it takes to make sure his cities are safe. Even the Democratic cities, even the people that didn't vote for him. And that's what you do as a president. You have to make tough calls. And he's getting pushed back. He's getting called racist, which, by the way, there's nothing more than I hate from a black Democrat that just throws the word racist out there like it's a damn Frisbee. Just racist. Clearing up the streets is now considered racism. Did you know that? I had no idea. I thought it was stopping crime, no matter if it's white, black, Hispanic, Asian. I thought it was just stopping crime. But no, guess what? If you go to a black city, predominantly black city, and you try to stop crime, you're now considered racist. I had no idea. I'm in 2025. You think it would be, no, I'm trying to protect the citizens, or I'm trying to help law enforcement, because we know that in Chicago, because we know where I'm from, there was black people getting killed left and right every single weekend. It'd be 15, 20 kids being shot. And you know what we did in Illinois when we heard that? Because it wasn't even a news story. It happened every single weekend. Black people would take their guns out. They shoot up the place. They shoot up buildings. They shoot up each other. And nobody cared because every single weekend it happened. And it seemed like the mayors didn't care. Nobody did anything. Nobody did anything. It was insane. You have these black-run cities by these mayors, by the way, and I'm going to show you, Michelle Wu, who's the mayor of Boston, Wes Moore, who's the governor of Baltimore, and Brandon Johnson. Brandon Johnson, I thought Lori Lightfoot was bad, but Brandon Johnson might just be one of the worst mayors we've ever seen in history, especially Chicago history, because it's one thing to reluctantly ask for help, but when you just deny help and then say to the president that he's racist is the problem with the Democratic Party, because the Democratic Party will not admit defeat. And instead of saying, you know what, you're right, we got some problems, I would love to accept some help, they make Trump out to be the bad guy. And then they turn the city on him, because we know this for a fact, that when it comes to black Democrats, especially the people that vote Democrat, when it comes to black Democrats, they are very emotional when it comes to voting. They don't go off policy. And this is what I've always said. The difference between the Republican Party and the Democratic Party, okay? The Republican Party is the party of policy, where, we want strong economy, strong border, strong trade, foreign policy, strong family, strong church. This is what we believe in. We believe in responsibility, less government, making sure that, your family environment is taken care of, and all this stuff, capitalistic mentality, anybody can make it. It doesn't matter if you're white, black, if you work your butt off, anybody can make it. Anybody can achieve the American dream if you just work hard. That's what we believe. The Democrats are not like that. The Democrats are the party of emotion, because nothing will get a black Democrat to the polls faster than saying racist. Whatever it is, it doesn't even have to be racist. All you have to do is say the word racist to a black Democrat, and they will charge to the polls. And the Democrats know that. That is why Brandon Johnson has said that Donald Trump is racist by trying to get the National Guard out to the city. And you're going to see these clips right here. So will the Democrats, after DC, because we've already seen a sweeping reduction of crime since the National Guard has been out in Washington, DC. It's insane. You can see the residents are so happy. I mean, I think it hasn't been a murder in like 11 days or something like that. It's insane. Like the first couple days, they had arrested like 20 something people, and 11 of those 20 something people had, illegal firearms. Insane what they've been able to do. Sweeping reduction of crime. And it hasn't even been a month yet. Imagine what you can do in these horrible run Democratic cities. But we're going to get into this. This is going to be Boston Mayor Michelle Wu. And let's see what she has to say about Donald Trump coming to her city.
Here is our response. Stop attacking our cities to hide your administration's failures. Unlike the Trump administration, Boston follows the law. And Boston will not back down from who we are and what we stand for. We will not back away from our community that has made us the safest major city in the country and a leading example of why cities around the country make this country safer, healthier, and
when I see her response and I see the people in the background cheering, imagine you having a problem in your city and someone extends an olive branch, says, I'm willing to help you. Even though we don't see eye to eye on a lot of things, I'm willing to help you. And you say, I don't need you. Michelle Wu has, been under attack. She doesn't know what a woman is. She, for whatever reason, the Democratic Party cannot identify what a woman is. And we've seen a problem in all of these cities right now because they are literally willing to let their city be destroyed, absolutely destroyed, than accept any help from Donald Trump. They hate this man. I cannot tell you how much the Democratic Party hates Donald Trump. They are not going to get any type of help from him. They don't want any help from him. They rather see people die in the streets every single day than ask the man for help. And that's the absolute fact. I mean, here's the governor of Baltimore. Now, we know Baltimore so far has 84 murders so far this year alone, so far. And yet, the governor, you're going to hear one right now, doesn't want the help. He says, we don't need the help.
Democratic leaders is ramping up, but if Governor Westmore has his way, it will end with the president visiting Baltimore. WMER 2 News' Jeff Morgan joins us now in studio with the latest message from the governor.
Kelly, Governor Moore called out President Trump on his public safety policies and invited him to Baltimore to see firsthand improvements in the city. In a letter sent to the White House, he told Mr. Trump to pick a date next month and attend one of Baltimore's public safety walks. The invitation came after the governor had harsh words for the president at an event this morning at Pimlico Racetrack.
This is a community that does not look at Baltimore like a punchline, but looks at Baltimore as a source of inspiration. And so I do want to be very clear. If you are not willing to be part of the solution, keep our names out of your mouth. Specifically, Donald Trump, if you are not willing to walk our communities, keep our name out of your mouth.
Keep our name out of your mouth. The president of the United States, when he's offering help, keep our name out of your mouth. I'm telling you, these people hate Donald Trump. They aren't going to accept any help from him. They're going to push back so much. I wouldn't be surprised if once Donald Trump gets the national, because he already said it, Donald Trump is a man of his word. Once he says he's going to do something and he really puts his foot down, he's going to send a National Guard somewhere. We know that once Washington, D.C. is done, he's either going to send them to Baltimore or Chicago, probably whichever mayor pisses him off more, which I believe it's probably going to be Chicago. That's where I'm thinking, because the governor, yes, he's annoying, he's a piece of crap or whatever, all that stuff like that. But Brandon Johnson, the mayor of Chicago, is probably one of the worst people ever, especially one of the worst mayors ever. Definitely one of the worst mayors that Chicago's ever seen. And he's already called Trump racist, a dictator, all these things. So if I am Trump, I'm going to your city next. I'm going to your city next. I'm bringing the National Guard, and I want to see what you're going to do about it. That's I feel like that's what's going to happen because, again, regardless of if you don't like them, Chicago right now is a war zone, and everybody knows that. I'll just tell you right now, Chicago has 262 murders already. This is just since January to August. 262 murders. And guess what? This is the kicker. It's down 32%. 262 murders, and that is down 32%. There's a reason why we call Chicago Chirac. Because in 1 year in Chicago, they had more murders in Chicago than in all of Iraq. And that's not an over-exaggeration. That's absolute truth. And that's why they call Chicago Chirac, because it's more dangerous in Chicago than it is in Iraq. And the problem is that these murders are only going to continue. I mean, so far, they've had 665 shootings from January to August. 665 shootings. And the year is not even over. And again, that percentage is actually down 39%. Anybody can believe that. 665 shootings, and that's down by 39%. That should tell you how terrible of a city that Chicago is. But here it is. Here's Brandon Johnson.
Solutions to crime and violence reduction. We cannot incarcerate our way out of violence. We've already tried that. And we've ended up with the largest prison population in the world without solving the problems of crime and violence. The addiction on jails and incarceration in this country, we have moved past that. It is racist. It is immoral.
There you go. I knew it. Black Democrat calls racist. We knew it. Ding, 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 coming down. We knew it. We knew it. All it takes is a black Democrat to cry racist. And guess what? People are going to cheer.
It is unholy, and it is not the way.
People cheering in the background. That's all it is. Sending people, the National Guard, to your city to clean up crime, which is run by a black mayor, which is horrible, by the way. Terrible mayor. Now it's racist. And this is the problem that I don't understand with the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party knows that they have a problem in the black community when it comes to crime, but they can't admit it. And here's why the Democratic can't admit it. If you're a Democratic congressman or a senator or whatever, you're an elected official and you're a Democrat, you cannot admit that black people commit more crimes than any other community in this country. You can't admit it because black Democrats 90% of the time vote Democrat. So imagine if the Democratic Party said, you know what, black people, you guys are just out of control right now. We see the murders in Baltimore. We see the murders in Chicago and New York and Memphis and Birmingham and all these other cities. You guys got to get your act together. And guess what? We're actually going to crack down on crime now. Because you guys are going crazy, we're going to crack down on crime. Could you imagine how the black people would react? Especially the Democrats. Us Republicans, we love that. We want to be able to walk out to our cars without being feared of being carjacked or mugged or anything like that. That's what we want. But the problem is that the Democrats will never admit that, especially the Democratic congressmen. The people that are elected, they will never admit that. And Republicans, we know that for a fact. We know for a fact that black crime is out of control. But guess what? We have to say it. We have to have those uncomfortable conversations. And Brandon Johnson, he wants to say it's racist. Well, it's not racist. You have problems in the black community. Your cities that are predominantly black are more crime in those cities. You need to address that because guess what? There's great black people around this country. We know that. But there's a small 15, 20% gangbanger thugs that ruin it for everybody. You see it. You can't even go to CVS or Walmart without having to get a cashier to open up the deodorant cabinet or whatever because everything's locked up now. You can't go to Walmart or CVS and get anything now. Everything's locked up. Why? Because theft is out of control. You've seen all these videos. Everybody's seen these videos. People just walking in the stores and grabbing hundreds and thousands of dollars just worth of merchandise. You see the department stores of like Louis and Gucci and Prada and all these people just taking stuff off the racks and just grabbing shoes and grabbing purses and all this stuff. And they can't do anything. The store owners can't do anything because guess what? In LA or some of these other Democratic cities, if you tackle this person, if you charge this person and this person gets hurt, now that person is going to sue the store. And guess what? They win because it's a Democratic-run city. So the store owner's like, oh, I guess you're just walking out with thousands of dollars. Oh, well. And this is the problem. So Trump sees this. He sees the violent crime. He sees all the thefts that affect everybody, by the way. Black crime just doesn't affect the black community. It affects everybody because everybody around here has to live around it. Nobody wants to live around that stuff. And it's actually right now, this is going to be the crazy thing, but it's actually true. It's causing more people to be racist because we don't want to live around it. We don't want to live around it. And instead of actually having a hard, uncomfortable conversation and saying, you know, we got to do it. The problem is right now is the overpopulation of jails. I don't feel like anybody should be in jail if you convicted killer and it's actually like you did this. Like, first of all, why is the Boston bomber alive? Dylan Roof, the guy that went into the church and killed all these people. Why do they get 45 years? Why do they get 100 plus 200 more years? The guy's 60 years old. Why not just end his life right there so the taxpayers don't have to keep spending billions of dollars annually? The U.S. taxpayers pay tens of billions of dollars every single year for expenses to prison systems. And it's insane. Why do you have to keep somebody alive for 50 years? That's insane. The guy is 50 years old. Why not just say, you know what? You killed the kid. You raped the, or whatever you did. You raped the kid or whatever. You know what? Automatic death penalty, period. You know, it's insane. Our justice system is crazy. You get a last meal. This guy killed 10 kids, and you're going to give him a last meal? Like, it's crazy to me. So you could save the taxpayers a lot of money if you just ended the lives of people that are just the worst, sick criminals in this country. Stop giving them 45 to 100, 200 years. Stop that crap and just end their lives right there. Put people in prisons that need to be rehabilitated. That's what prison reform is. It's about rehabilitation. Okay. People that have, you know, DUIs and made a terrible mistake and accidentally took someone's life. That's what prison is about, you know, reform, making sure that they never make those mistakes again. But if you're out there killing people, you know, if you're out there, essaying kids, that's not reform. You need to be dead. That's it. Your life is over, in my opinion. You don't reform after that. You don't get to just spend 20 years in prison and be like, oh, I'm reformed. I murdered, 10 kids, but hey, guess what? I'm reformed. No, you're the worst of the worst. You deserve to be under the jail. So we got to figure out this prison system. But again, I'm going to show you this last clip of Donald Trump, trying to appeal to some of these mayors. And again, they're always going to push back. They consider him a racist. They're never going to accept any help from him. Washington, D.C., I think the National Guard is going to be out there for another maybe 10 days, and then we'll see where he goes. I think it's going to be Chicago. I really hope it's Chicago because I can't stand this racist mayor, Brandon. I think he's one of the worst people ever. So let's see what Donald Trump has to say.
By corrupt politicians and bad politicians, like a guy like Pritzker. He ought to spend more time in the gym, actually. This guy is a disaster. Gavin Newsom's a disaster. When we saved Los Angeles. You wouldn't have been able to have the Olympics in Los Angeles. You're barely able to have it now. They did lose 25,000 houses to a fire that should have never occurred because they didn't let the water come down from the Pacific Northwest, which you guys don't want to write about. I had to break into the water supply to let the water down. And even now, we want more. We can have much more. It's less than half of what should be coming in. I don't know. They have a political thing about it. It's like the craziest thing I've ever seen. But I don't like going to a town, city, place, a state, and then be criticized by some corrupt or incompetent governor where crime is rampant. Like, take a look at D.C. Crime was rampant. It was at the all-time worst. It got really bad during the Biden 4 years. And then I have a mayor stand up and say how crime has reached a 30-year low. 30-year low. People are being killed left and right. And it's not a 30-year low. Think of it. So for 11 days, there have been no murders. The record goes back years where that's happened. They haven't seen that happen in years. And then people stand up, and instead of thanking us, which they should do, and she's not that bad. She's better than most. But, you have people I watched in Illinois. Chicago, Illinois is a disaster. I have property there. It's a disaster what's going on in Chicago. And you get Pritzker, he's violating our rights. I think this is another men and women's sports thing. I think this is one of those, they call them 80-20 issues. I call them 97-3. I think the Democrats better get smart. And, you know, politically, I hope they don't. But actually, in terms of love for the country, I hope they do, because
I just want you to understand what he just said right there. You know, politically, I don't want to work with them. But in terms of the country, we should be working together. Putting the country first, putting the American cities first, putting the American people first. Again, the people that didn't vote for him that are in these Democratic cities, he's still caring about them and wanting to clean up the cities, no matter what he's called. Donald Trump has been been called a racist for the last 20 something years. And he's never once, ever been a racist, ever. I mean, he donated to the Jesse Jackson presidential campaign in 84 and 88. What racist is going to give his own personal money to Jesse Jackson's personal presidential campaign? No one. And yet they call Donald Trump a racist. They call him a racist just because he's a Republican. And he's calling out some of these mayors under crime. And he has to. Because unfortunately, in these black-run cities, when it comes to these mayors and governors, crime is out of control, and they're not going to address it because they're afraid of being called racist. And Trump's not. Like I said, Trump has been called a racist for a long time now, and he doesn't care, nor should he, because he's clearly not. He has minorities around him, and he wants to do what's best for these cities. And again, these Democratic mayors will do anything than to accept Trump's help. They will let people get killed in the streets every single day. It happens every single day in Chicago. And they will continue to let American citizens get killed, get mugged, get carjacked, than to accept Donald Trump's help. So hopefully, once the National Guard is out of Washington, D.C., we can get them in Chicago. We can get them in Baltimore. We can get them in Memphis. We can get them in wherever the crime is out of control. Donald Trump needs to send the National Guard because it's going to make everybody feel safe, and it's much, much needed in America. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Remember, like, comment, subscribe. I'm out of here.